Hey there, welcome to Monday Move, where we will enhance our asana. Today we are going to be working with Uttanasana or forward fold. If you have followed me on social media, you may have seen a post last week about Ardha Uttanasana, and I plan to get to that next week. But I want to focus on Uttanasana, the full forward fold, today because a lot of the times, most of the time, we come into Ardha Uttanasana from Uttanasana, right? Say that 5 times fast. So we want to understand the proper way to forward fold to then come up into a half forward fold. The main misalignment that we're going to focus on is where our pelvis goes when we forward fold. A lot of times our pelvis, due to restrictions in the hip joints, our hamstrings, lower back, our pelvis is stuck kind of onto our femurs. So what happens when we forward fold is we feel tension through our back body, and so we end up looking like an upside down U. And now this can cause a good amount of lower back pain because there's a few things that happen in that shape. The first thing that happens is your hamstrings that attach to your sits bones, they're being pulled taut. So the further you're trying to reach your hands to the ground, the stronger your hamstrings are pulling your pelvic bone with them. So the pelvic bone is shifting backwards. Okay? And then the second part that's happening is when we're rounding through our spine to reach and get our hands to the floor, our back muscles now that attach to the top of our pelvis and sacrum are pulling that part forward. So the thing in the middle that's being strained is that SI joint, where not a whole lot of, it's a joint, but not a whole lot of movement happens. So when the bottom of the pelvis is being pulled down, the top of the pelvis and sacrum is being pulled forward, a shear happens at that SI joint that should not be happening. Okay? So what to do now? Say you have tight hamstring, you're just like, well, I don't know what to do. So there's a few things. The most accessible thing that you can do to help get more range of motion with the pelvis is to first imagine that the pelvis is an extension of the spine. So where the spine goes, the pelvis is going to go with it. So if we're folding forward and our spine is coming forward and down, our pelvis is also rotating forward and down as well. So your sits bones are lifting up towards the sky. They're not glued onto your femur. Okay, so allow the sits bones to lift. So that's the first thing to imagine if you're a visual person. Imagine the pelvis moving with the spine, okay? Hinging at the hip joints, right? So you can see this better if I bring my knee towards me, a forward fold basically. I'm hinging at, the femur is the only thing that's moving, I'm hinging at my hip joint. So that's another thing that you can imagine. Hinge here at the hip joints and not in the lower back. Okay, so those are some things you can think about as we move into this pose. So now let's work forward into our forward fold. And let's say you get stuck here and be like, okay, I'm hinging at my hip joint, but I can't go any further because the tightness in the hamstrings, or maybe you're feeling it in the lower back. Most easiest thing you can do, bend the knees. By bending the knees, you are softening the tautness of the hamstring so you can have more range of motion with the pelvis. By bending the knees, then you can work on lengthening, you can continue lengthening through the sits bones, and then you can start to soften your chest on towards your thighs. And it doesn't matter how deep the knees have to bend. As long as you're reaching your sits bones away from your femurs, as long as you're hinging through the hip joints, you're going to get a good hamstring stretch. You're doing it properly now. And then your hands can rest on the floor and your head can relax in between your upper arms. All right, so let's say you're like, okay, I'm bending my knees, but I'm still stuck. So, props. One of my favorite things to use in a class to make poses accessible for everybody is to have blocks to bring the floor towards you. So if you find that you're bending your knees, you're like, I'm doing everything right, but my hands still don't touch the floor. Have blocks available or stack books on top of each other to lift the floor. That way you have a sturdy foundation to press into, and then you can work with pressing through your feet, lifting your sits bones, and you're still in proper form. Okay, and then to come out, you can bring your hands to that point of hinge, and then with the use of the back of your legs, stand up. Okay, so let's flow through this once here. So if you would inhale, sweep the arms up overhead. Exhale, fold forward. Sometimes I like to say hinge because that just makes it click in my students' heads. Hinge forward. Soften through the knees if you need to, and maybe place hands on your block. Let the head relax. Firm down through the insides of your feet and lift your sits bones. 3 deep breaths. And maybe as you take your deep breaths, you feel the hamstrings loosen up a little bit and you can lengthen a little bit deeper into your legs. But never feel like you have to have straight legs. Let's take our hands to our hips. Utilize the strength of the back of your legs as you inhale and rise up. All right, awesome. So a few key points. Pelvis moves with the spine. You want to hinge at your hip joints, not at your SI joints. And utilize blocks or bend the knees. Kind of let go of that concept of I have to look like the picture in Yoga Journal with straight legs, chest, to the thighs. Listen to your body, honor your body, and do what feels right for you. All right? So if you do have any questions, reach out to me via the comments section. You can email me, text me, message me on Facebook, direct message me on Instagram. I hope this helped. Again, any questions, reach out to me. Otherwise, have a beautiful rest of your day, a wonderful week. I'll see you next Monday. Om Shanti. Namaste.